The Amtrak Quad Cities project refers to the long-awaited passenger rail service designed to connect Chicago, Illinois with the Quad Cities region, particularly Moline, Illinois, and surrounding communities such as Rock Island, Davenport, Bettendorf, and East Moline. For decades, the Quad Cities region has been underserved by intercity rail despite its size, economic significance, and cultural presence in the Midwest. The plan is part of the broader Illinois Service Initiative operated in partnership with Amtrak, the Illinois Department of Transportation (IDOT), and freight railroads, with the ultimate goal of restoring convenient, reliable, and efficient rail travel between one of America's largest cities, Chicago, and a vibrant cross-state metro area straddling Illinois and Iowa. Historical background. Passenger trains have a deep history in the Quad Cities region. Before Amtrak was formed in 1971, the Rock Island Railroad operated services such as the Quad Cities Rocket and the Peoria Rocket, which provided frequent connections to Chicago. The Quad Cities Rocket, in particular, ran between Chicago and Rock Island, serving communities along the way and forming an important link for travelers and businesses alike. However, in 1978 the Rocket was discontinued, and in 1979, the region officially lost all regular intercity passenger rail service. This created a gap of over 4 decades during which the Quad Cities, despite being a large metro area with more than 400,000 residents, lacked direct rail access. Over time, multiple attempts were made to revive service, but funding, political disagreements, and conflicts with freight railroads prevented any concrete progress. Planning and federal funding. In 2010-2011, renewed momentum arose when the Obama administration prioritized high-speed rail and passenger rail expansion as part of national infrastructure investments. The Quad Cities project was awarded a substantial federal grant of approximately $177 million, intended to cover infrastructure upgrades, station improvements, and startup costs. The Moline Multimodal Station was built and renovated with these funds, designed to serve as the terminus for the new service. At the time, there was widespread optimism that trains would be running by 2015 or 2016. However, negotiations with the Iowa Interstate Railroad (IAIS), which owns part of the necessary track between Wyanett and Moline, stalled progress. While the federal grant was at risk of being lost, Illinois officials fought for extensions and additional funding to keep the project alive. Route and infrastructure. The proposed route follows existing freight corridors to minimize new construction costs. From Chicago to Wyanett, trains would run on BNSF tracks, which are already used by other Amtrak Illinois services like the Illinois Zephyr and Carl Sandburg. From Wyanett to Moline, the route would shift to IAIS tracks. To accommodate passenger rail, these tracks require significant upgrades, including new signals, positive train control systems, siding extensions, and improvements to bridges and crossings. The projected trip time is around 3 to 3.5 hours, making it competitive with driving while offering passengers comfort, Wi-Fi, and the ability to work or relax during travel. The service is expected to begin with 2 daily round trips, giving travelers flexibility while still being manageable in terms of operations and costs. Political and negotiation challenges. The greatest obstacle to launching the service has been the prolonged negotiations between IDOT, Amtrak, and IAIS. Freight railroads often prioritize their freight operations and are reluctant to allow passenger service without guarantees that it will not disrupt their business. IAIS requested infrastructure investments and assurances about scheduling, while IDOT aimed to balance costs with benefits. These negotiations dragged on for years, frustrating local leaders and citizens who were eager to see trains return to the region. Political leadership also shifted over time, with different governors and legislators either pushing strongly for the project or showing lukewarm support. Despite these setbacks, bipartisan commitment from Quad Cities officials and business leaders kept the idea alive. Economic and social benefits. The return of passenger rail is expected to deliver numerous benefits to the Quad Cities. First, it will improve connectivity to Chicago, opening new opportunities for tourism, business travel, and cultural exchange. Visitors from Chicago and beyond will be able to access the Quad Cities for events, festivals, casinos, and riverfront attractions without relying on cars. Likewise, Quad Cities residents will have an affordable and reliable option for accessing Chicago's airports, universities, hospitals, and cultural institutions. Economically, studies have shown that passenger rail investments often generate strong returns by spurring development near stations, increasing property values, and creating jobs both during construction and in ongoing service. The Moline Station area, in particular, is expected to see revitalization as shops, restaurants, and hotels benefit from increased foot traffic. Environmental and regional importance. In addition to economic benefits, the service supports environmental goals by reducing highway congestion and greenhouse gas emissions. With climate change concerns growing, shifting travelers from cars and planes to trains provides a more sustainable alternative. The Chicago Quad Cities route also strengthens regional equity, ensuring that mid-sized cities and rural communities are not left behind in national transportation planning. For Iowa, although the initial service terminates in Illinois, there is long-term potential to extend trains across the river to Davenport, further integrating the metro area. Current status 2024-2025 updates. As of late 2024 and into 2025, progress has been made. Preliminary engineering plans between IDOT, Amtrak, BNSF, and IAIS have been agreed upon and are under review by the Federal Railroad Administration. Construction and upgrades are moving forward in phases, although no official start date for service has yet been announced. Local communities remain hopeful, and the Moline Station, already completed years ago, stands as both a symbol of anticipation and frustration. Recent federal infrastructure bills have also renewed optimism, as additional funding for passenger rail expansion has been made available. While delays have been frustrating, officials stress that progress is real and that trains could finally arrive within the next few years. Future outlook. Looking forward, the success of the Chicago Quad Cities route could serve as a model for other regional rail projects in the Midwest. Extensions westward to Iowa City or Des Moines have been discussed for years, and a functional Quad Cities service would strengthen the case for broader expansion. Furthermore, the Midwest Rail Initiative envisions a hub-and-spoke system centered on Chicago, with fast, frequent trains connecting major cities across Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, Indiana, and Michigan. The Quad Cities are an important piece of this puzzle, bridging Illinois and Iowa and serving as a vital regional connector. Conclusion. The Amtrak Quad Cities project represents both the promise and the challenges of modern passenger rail in the United States. It highlights the difficulties of negotiating with freight railroads, the complexities of funding and political support, and the long timelines often associated with transportation infrastructure. Yet it also underscores the tremendous benefits that restored service could bring: economic growth, environmental sustainability, improved mobility, and regional pride. For over 4 decades, the Quad Cities have waited for the return of trains. With continued persistence and investment, that wait may finally come to an end, bringing a new era of connectivity between Chicago and the heart of the Midwest. The Amtrak Quad Cities project is one of the most anticipated passenger rail initiatives in the Midwest, designed to restore a direct train connection between Chicago, Illinois, and the Quad Cities region after more than 4 decades without service. And while the idea of a new train might sound simple, the story behind it is one of history, politics, funding, and the struggle to balance the needs of passenger travel with the realities of freight operations, because the Quad Cities, which include Moline, Rock Island, Davenport, Bettendorf, and East Moline, once enjoyed regular train service through the famous Quad Cities rocket operated by the Rock Island Railroad until 1978, when it was discontinued, leaving the region without intercity rail despite having a metropolitan population of more than 400,000 people, and since then, residents have had to rely on cars, buses, or flights to reach Chicago, which has limited mobility, tourism, and economic opportunities. But in 2010 and 2011, momentum finally returned when the federal government awarded nearly $177 million for passenger rail expansion as part of a national infrastructure plan, with Illinois Department of Transportation (IDOT) and Amtrak tasked with implementing the Chicago to Moline route, and a multimodal station was built in downtown Moline, complete with platforms and facilities, standing ready to welcome trains that never quite arrived because of years of negotiation challenges. And the biggest roadblock was the Iowa Interstate Railroad (IAIS), the freight company that owns the crucial segment of track between Wyanett and Moline, which insisted on costly infrastructure upgrades and operational guarantees before allowing passenger trains to share its tracks, while BNSF Railway controls the Chicago to Wyanett portion, which is already used by other Amtrak Illinois routes, and this two-railroad arrangement complicated agreements and caused delays. Yet despite these struggles, local officials, business leaders, and citizens continued pushing for the project, recognizing the benefits it would bring, because a Chicago Quad Cities train is expected to take around 3 to 3.5 hours, making it competitive with driving while offering passengers the comfort of Wi-Fi, workspaces, and stress-free travel, and the return of trains would boost tourism by connecting Chicago residents to Quad Cities casinos, riverfront attractions, festivals, and cultural events, while also giving Quad Cities residents affordable access to Chicago's universities, hospitals, airports, and job opportunities. And beyond economics, the project carries environmental benefits by shifting travelers from highways and planes to a greener mode of transport, reducing emissions and supporting sustainability goals. And for years the completed Moline station has symbolized both hope and frustration, standing empty yet ready, but in recent years progress has begun to move again, with preliminary engineering agreements finalized among Amtrak, IDOT, IA, and BNSF, and federal reviews currently underway, while new infrastructure funding from Congress and the Biden administration has provided additional resources, meaning that although an exact start date has not been announced as of 2025, optimism is once again high that trains will soon roll, and if successful, the service could expand further west to Davenport, Iowa City, or even Des Moines, integrating Iowa more fully into the Midwest passenger rail network, while also strengthening the vision of a Chicago-centered rail hub that connects medium-sized cities across Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Indiana. And so the Amtrak Quad Cities story is more than just a local transportation project. It is a test of America's ability to revive and modernize passenger rail in the 21st century, showing how difficult it can be to balance federal investment, state planning, private railroad cooperation, and local community needs, but also how powerful the rewards can be when those pieces come together, promising economic growth, environmental gains, and renewed mobility for a region that has waited patiently for the return of its trains.